Okay, so now we're going to look at what it looks like to identify a function on a coordinate plane with just a bunch of data points. So we've got 5 data points, and we're trying to figure out whether or not this relation is a function. And you can see that the x here is going to represent our input. So this x-axis, we're going to look for our inputs, and then the y-axis, we're going to look for our outputs. And each input can only have one output. It cannot have repeating outputs. So really easy. So we're just going to look, okay, here's the first point. We're going to start from left to right. The first point, C. And so if I'm looking at the input line, C is on where x is -9. And if I drew a dotted line all the way up and down when x is -9, if C is the only data point on this dotted line, then this first point passes the definition of a function. So then we'll just move on to the next line. Looks like G is on -7. So we're going to go ahead and draw the line. Is there any other data point that's on this line? Nope. So G passes the definition of a function. Move to the next line, -6. And we're doing the same thing. So you can see that D is good. And then we've got F on -1. There's no other data points, and that line is totally not straight. And then we've got our last one, E over here. So each of these points, the input only has one output. There's no repeating outputs for any of our inputs. So we're just going to go ahead and define the domain and the range, just like we've done in a previous lesson. So start with the smallest number first. And the way we're inputting it is a little bit different. You're actually going to type it on the same line. And you're going to write type number, comma, space. So the smallest number here is -9. Comma, space, and then we've got -7, comma, space, we've got -6, comma, space, and we've got -1, and we've got 8. So we've got -1, and I'm running out of room, comma, space, and 8. So that's our domain, and then our range, same exact thing, but for the y's only. So we're starting at the bottom, smallest number, -9, comma, space, looks like that's -3. Then we've got up here, we've got +7, we've got +8, and then +10. One more example of graphs. So let's see what this other example looks like. So here we've got 5 points, and we're trying to identify whether or not the relation is a function. So we'll do the same thing. We'll just kind of dot these lines and see if there's 2 points that are on the same dotted line. So we're dotting at -9, no 2 points. Then our next point here is I, and when we dot, you can see that I and F are both on when x is -1. So we've got F right here, and we've got I right here. X is -1, so we've got -1 going to, looks like 3, and we've got -1 going to, looks like -6. So we've got an input that has 2 outputs that does not meet the definition of a function. So this is not a function. No function. However, we're still going to identify the range and the domain. So the domain here, I should be using yellow, is -9. Then we've got -1. We've got +1, it looks like, and then we've got 2. So -9, -1, +1, and 2. And then the range, same thing, but for the y's. We've got -6, it looks like -3, looks like we got 2 on 3, and then we got 1 on 9. So we got -6, -3, 3, and 9. And that's our range.